Once upon a time, two retired teachers decided to convert their garage into a pottery studio. Along with their daughter and son, they built a business around the idea that the world could use a little more art and a lot more artists. We're the Kaya family. Welcome to Wocky Pots. Hi everybody, how you doing? How you been? How are things? Shane and Diana again for coffee time number 15.
Wow.
We are a day late this week, guys.
Yes.
Lots and lots of stuff has been going on, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But let's go ahead and say what we have been doing for the past week.
Well, I think that could take a week in itself.
It's going to take a week to say what we did last week.
We had not originally had any classes, already scheduled, but we ended up with a bowl class that happened on Monday. Some folks came in to do some glazing on Monday also.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Saturday, we ended up with
a surprise
class,
right?
Mug class.
Yep.
It was a great class.
It's a great class.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. So we actually had 3 classes, basically,
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 classes, you might as well say.
Yep.
Last week that we hadn't planned for.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of the week. You worked on the kiln last week.
Yep, I got the kiln shelves all scrubbed down to get the old kiln wash off and a new layer of kiln wash on. And that's more than a notion. That takes a little bit of effort to do.
Yeah, that's true. But they looked really nice.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We'll see how they come out. They're in the kiln right now with a load of bisque cooling down. We're at about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the kiln right now. So by this time tomorrow, definitely the kiln will be open and we'll be able to see what's in it.
And that, of course, was another thing that we did. We got a bisque load in.
Right.
And it took us several days to manage to get that bisque load in between all the other things happening.
Right.
We also drove to Pennsylvania and got more clay. We brought back
500 pounds of clay.
Yep.
So 250 pounds of our speckle clay and 250 of the Sheltilly Brown that we've come to love in the studio.
Yep. And I got a couple of new tools.
Right.
These are, and I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Zion?
Don't know.
I don't know.
Xiem.
Yes.
Zion or Zium. Not sure how you pronounce
it. It's an XST01 and an XST02.
So these are like rounded needles for drawing into the clay.
Yes. And so I'm using them for my machinima. So I'm very anxious because this gives me 4 different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy.
So we got some more tools,
different.
And it was a good trip up. We got another bat for the big wheel and a couple of other things too.
Yeah. So of course that took an entire day. But then after that, you threw some raku vases.
Right, because even though
those are nice.
I'm not yet done with the raku kiln, I need to have stuff to put in it for that first test. So I've got a couple of pieces here that I've thrown that are out of the raku clay that will go in the raku kiln. It is lower temperature, lower firing clay than what we normally work with. So I just have to make sure I keep the clay separate because they don't fire at the same range.
Yeah. And then I carved my lighthouse and my chickadee mug.
Yep, the chickadee mugs.
Yes. So I've got a lighthouse here, and I love doing that. And then,
I can't wait to see how they turn out.
Yes. And now the chickadee one is my very favorite. I really, really love that. But so I'm happy about that. I drew him out several times on a piece of paper before I attempted it into the clay. So that was fun. And then, of course, on Friday, we had our first show.
Right. So we did the very first Friday show in Snow Hill, Maryland. And it was great. The people were fantastic, but it was cold.
Oh, my gosh. It was so cold. We had hot hands. I had my wool hat on. I had my mittens on. I had 2 layers of clothing on. I had my winter coat on.
I was surprised at how cold my feet got. I normally my feet don't get cold, but the road surface, the street we were on was pretty cold and it came right up through my sneakers.
I'm just amazed that anybody came out.
Right. We only had a couple of sales, but it was worth it. We tried out our portable setup for the season. We have a new wagon, like a gardening wagon that we're going to be carrying our stuff in. So no matter where we set up, we'll be able to get to our spot and set up in one trip. That will be with all of our tables, all of our stuff, our chairs, canopy, all that stuff. We'll be able to lug into our location in one go, and that's different than what we did last year. Last year we used an upright cart that was great, but only for short distances and only for small amounts of stuff.
And we weren't always sure that things would stay in that. It didn't have tall enough sides.
Right. So the new wagon has tall sides and big air inflated tires, and I think it's going to work great.
It's currently sitting here in the studio because we had like this huge deluge of rain.
Yeah, I
didn't want it outside.
Haven't yet cleaned a spot for it in the garage, but we'll get there. We'll
have to take a pry bar.
I don't Something. Know. We'll figure out some way to get it in.
Some way to wedge it in.
Yep.
And then, of course, Sunday, you and I had to split up and go in two totally different directions.
This was yesterday. Today is Monday. We normally film these on Sundays, but yesterday was too busy.
Yes.
Too busy. So we had to divide and conquer yesterday. So.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about where you went first, or you want me to?
Let's talk about your location first.
Alrighty then. Well, I went over to Chincoteague, Virginia, and I went to the Farmers and Artisans Market meeting. And while I was there, I had to fill out the application.
We'll cross our fingers, guys.
Yes, that they want us. Yep. And I committed us, if they take us, to all 42 market days.
Go ahead and say it. That's crazy. That's insane. Go ahead and say it. I know you're thinking it. That's nutso bonkers crazy.
Basically, the market itself begins in May on Saturdays, but then sometime midway through June, it's also on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and that's the part that was like, "Ooh, do we do both days?" But then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. We're going to go for it.
So this is way more market appearances than we even thought about doing last year. My goodness, this is probably we will have gone probably 6 or 7 times as many times this year as we did last year.
But that'll give us something to shoot for. We've got to keep making the pottery in order to have enough pieces. And so that was what I was thinking about while I was there, and the place was packed. I mean, it was just packed with people, whether they were selling food that they'd made or produce that they'd grown, all these people. And I saw next to some very nice ladies that do jams and jellies. So I'll probably get some jams and jellies from them.
Of course.
And she said, "Oh dear, you said pottery?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she says, "I guess we'll just be at each other's table.
We'll be trading cups for jam for sure."
So, but she was very pleasant. So I'm hoping that everyone is just as pleasant.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great no matter what. And if we have to, our setup is small enough that if we need to go solo, one of us can go while the other one does something else.
And we probably will have to do that for a couple of times, like the Renaissance Fair that's happening in Cape Charles, and then the Nome Ferry Festival.
Right, and we'll figure out when that gets closer.
So some logistics there to work out. But thankfully, my cousin Karen says, she's chimed in and said, "I'll go."
Counting all of our appearances, we have about 50 market appearances over the course of the entire season.
Not to mention other things that might
spur the moment kind of things might pop up. So we're going to be very, very busy, but we're ready for it. We're ready.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it because I'm one of those people, I get very anxious before events because it's unknown. So like everything we do that's new causes me a lot of anxiety initially. Once I'm there and I'm enjoying myself, it's all grand. And then I look at it afterwards like, oh, that was so much fun. But this way I have something that is consistent, that I know exactly how it's done. I know exactly where my spot's going to be. The people will direct me to it.
Yeah, it'll be a positive
experience. It's a known
experience.
Quantity.
Yeah, it'll be a positive
I can
experience.
do that.
So that's where you were yesterday. You were at that organizational meeting, and I was at a meeting also. It was a meeting for the Clay Guild of the Eastern Shore, which is a group of people who do work with clay, ceramicists and potters. and we got together and talked about lots of different things. I am brand new to this. This was my first Clay Guild meeting, and everybody was very friendly, and it was a nice, uh, you know, kind of a community a day. We met at Amuse Studios in Fruitland, and I got to meet a pretty broad cross section of people that are interested in the same kinds of things that I am. We did some pre-planning for an event that we'll post more about it as it gets closer. There's an event during the summer called Clayapalooza, and there are lots of things that we have to get ready for that event. I've committed to doing a couple of pedestal pieces, which are very large, for me anyway, large ceramic pieces. And to give you kind of an idea of what I'm talking about, I have one of my earliest pieces I ever did right here in front of me. This is a moche pot. And I'm going to make something very much like this, about twice as tall. So instead of being this tall, it's going to be about that tall. And I'm going to do a much better job at it. This, of course, was my very first one. I taught myself how to do it, and I thought it looks pretty good. I'm going to do something else that's going to look even better. So we've got a couple of big pieces we need to have ready to display on pedestals. We also have to have an artisan market table set up, which will be our normal market stuff that we would normally sell. And then about 10 mugs. And I'm going to really strive to make these mugs unusual, creative, or different in some way. So I'm going to be making brand new mugs for that. I don't really want to go with the mugs that we already have for that. And then one other part of this event is a garden stacking display where all the members of the Clay Guild, or at least many of them, make bits of a garden totem that they stack on top of each other. And you may have noticed this little balloon clown sitting in front here. I'm going to do this, and
not as a balloon. I mean, it's not going to be a balloon.
No, it's not going to be
clay.
It's going to be out of clay. It's going to be ceramic.
But it's going to look like pottery. A balloon.
It's going to look like this, but much bigger. And the reason that I'm doing this is because the theme for the garden totems is self-portrait. That was the theme that they landed on. I didn't have anything to do with picking that theme, but I'm going to run with it. And you don't know this about me, but I worked my way through college as a professional clown, juggler, and magician. And this kind of balloon is the kind of balloons that I used to make at parties and events.
He was Sparky the clown.
That's right. I was a professional clown before clowns were scary. I stopped being a clown when clowns got scary. Also, when I started teaching.
You were a great performer.
Well, I really enjoyed it. And this is the kind of thing that got me started. This very first gig as a clown paid for my college while I was in college, and also got me out and about and interacting with children. And that's where I figured out I wanted to be a teacher. And then 25 years later, a lot of the things that I learned performing carried me all the way through that and continue to this day. So my self-portrait is going to be a balloon animal clown made out of clay. And it's going to, again, be quite a bit larger than this guy. But just to give you an example of what I'm thinking about, that's where I'm going with that. Yep. So that was our day.
I think that's going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Yep. So that was our day yesterday. And of course we did not film our coffee time yesterday.
There was no time yesterday. And then our plan was to film it first thing this morning.
First thing we were going to do it.
First thing this morning. But no, as many of you may know, if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, instead we headed down to take our dog Juneau to the vet.
Right. Juneau was not feeling good. She had swollen eyes and her ears were swollen.
Yeah.
And so we took her to the vet, and it's a 2-person job with Juneau. That's a 2-person job.
She is very much a baby and very much a homebody, and she hates to ride in the car. She gets car sick.
She weighs 50 pounds.
50 pounds. She is the biggest baby in history.
Yep. She whines and she cries and she needs support.
And at 3 a.m. when I was up with her last night, because she was crying too over her ears bothering her, it was like She really was like a baby.
So that's why we're a little later making the coffee. It'll
but
still
she
be
is
up.
good.
That's
It's an allergic reaction to what we're not exactly sure. But she's on prednisone for the next 2 weeks.
Right. So she'll recover. She should be just fine.
She'll start feeling better soon. Mm-hmm. So
probably today even. Yeah. She'll feel better.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story with our weekend. Holy cow! Just listening to us talk about it, it has been a busy week with all the classes and setting up at the market and having time to make stuff still in the studio. It was a pretty busy week.
It really was. And we one of the things that, had also happened, last week when we were getting ready for our coffee time episode was we had that test load come out.
Right.
And we didn't share that video. It was just mainly a lot of test things, but I did want to share these 4 ramekins that came out of the test kiln because I think they turned out really nice.
And that's the new dipping glaze?
Yes, this is the new dipping glaze. And so I was very pleased with that. Now, the other 3 dipping glazes, there was no time. We didn't even get a mix. So that's on for this coming week.
What else do we have coming up this week?
Well, tomorrow begins our art classes.
Very excited about these art classes. These are not pottery classes. These are homeschool art classes. So we have kids coming in the studio 2 times this week, tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and then again, a different group of kids on Thursday. Altogether, we have about 20 kids coming in for art lessons, and I'm super excited about it. We're talking about the principles of art this time around. Last time we talked about the elements of art, the things that make art. And this time we're going to be talking about the principles or the underlying concepts behind art. And the goal is to get these kids to be able to talk about a work of art using the words to represent their feelings and their emotions and opinions about a piece of art. They'll be able to look at it and use the right vocabulary to describe what it's made of. That would be the elements of art. And then what the artist is conveying. And those are the principles of art.
And then tomorrow's lesson is going to focus on movement.
Caveman. We're doing cave paintings tomorrow because we're going to talk about movement. That's one of the principles of art. And the cool thing about that is humans have been depicting that particular principle of art for a very, very long time. Some of the very earliest art that was ever done by people shows animals running across a plain. And the way that those early artists showed movement with very simple means, that's where we're going to start with tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll have our little lesson. We'll present a couple of different artists that we think the kids should know about. And then we're going to have a little project where they get to demonstrate their own skill at showing movement through a kind of drawing similar to cave painting. It's going to be great.
And of course, we have designed our new schedule.
Yeah, boy, a schedule. Oh, boy.
Yes, look at our schedule.
So coffee time on Sundays. Mondays are going to be our off days. And I'm going to say that with a little bit of a laughter. Ha ha. Because off doesn't mean off. Off just means we're not going to spend, more than a couple hours in the studio, probably. So Tuesday, we have art class from 2 to 3. Wednesday is going to be the day for our own glazing, and also, if we can, to get people to come into the studio and do the glazing that they need done for their projects. Another art class from 10 to 11 on Thursday with a different group of kids. And then on Friday and Saturday, we're going to be working on our own pottery projects, the little things that we need to do just to keep up with stuff. And these will also be kind of ongoing when we have time during the rest of the week, too.
Yeah. Definitely, like in between, before or after an art class. However, on the days that we do have art classes, it's kind of hard to do pottery in the studio because we set it up in a totally different way.
Right, set it more like an art classroom as opposed to a pottery studio.
But we're going to try this out and see. But that also leads us to our new goal.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ta-da! We have a new goal. Our last goal was to make that 2,000 pieces, which we knew was
we knew that
never going to happen.
That was a lofty goal.
But we had no idea how many pieces we actually would get.
And it did push us to make probably more than we would have.
It did. It definitely did. But the one thing it also showed us was what would be a reasonable goal for us to shoot for. And since we have all those markets to go to, we've got to keep making pottery and getting it ready to replace things that do so. So we figured if we can get 200 pieces of pottery done each month, then we should be able to keep up with demand, hopefully. So I drew 2 cups up there, 2 mugs, and one is labeled Diana and the other is labeled Shane.
Yay. So
and when we reach the top of our mug, it's 100 pieces for us. So it doesn't matter how many pieces are done in a week. Maybe some weeks it can only be 2 pieces, but maybe the next week might be 20. Right. So
but it's a way for us to track our progress. And although I'm sure she didn't mean it like this, it is a way for Diana to make sure she's doing as many or more pieces than me, for sure. Right? Get that little competitive thing going in.
I am a competitive person, I know. But I'm also a very helpful person.
You are, that's right. Yep.
I am. Yep. So see, if you were falling behind,
you'd be helping me.
I'd be helping you.
And a lot of the pieces, like we've discussed this with the crab mugs, a lot of the pieces we'll be splitting up the tasks on those. So maybe you'll make the mug and I'll make the handle.
Right. Right.
So we'll kind of combine our skills on a lot of the things.
And a lot of new things that we want to make this week too. Because you were talking about the moche, of course, pieces, and more whimsical cups, you said.
Yep.
The other thing you'd mentioned were bells.
Right. So we have that 25 pounds of porcelain that we just kind of picked up on a whim a few weeks ago. And porcelain makes a really pretty sounding bell. So we're going to make little bells, and maybe they'll be like Christmas ornament kind of bells. Maybe they'll be outdoor hanging like wind chime bells. We haven't really discussed it other than that would be a cool thing to make. So
yeah. Well, I have been interested in the garden bells, but the others sound nice too. My newest thing, you know how I always stumble across things, I was stumbling across this thing where the Maori people, the indigenous people of New Zealand, have this thing about whale's tails, and the symbolism of a whale's tail is determination and strength. So I've decided to make a whale tail of fluke sculpture, and also to do some pendants with that on it, because it's kind of like my balance thing. I thought, oh, that's a little symbol. So I like that. And I know a lot of people do too.
We hadn't even talked about this, but we have to have a couple of pedestal pieces. Maybe that's a pedestal piece. Maybe you want to make a big one.
Well,
how about
that be fun?
Make a 2-foot whale fluke.
And it is going to be in Ocean City.
Right.
Right next to the Atlantic Ocean.
Right. So that might be
might be fun. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. But of course, I want to do some more of my Mishima mugs. And I really, I look at the bird feeder, because where I sit in the living room, the bird feeder is outside the window. And so last week, I saw the first yellow finches of the season.
Right, goldfinches are
goldfinches, rather.
Well,
yeah, they still are in their winter color right now, so they're not the bright yellow yet.
They're pretty, but they're not beautiful.
Yes.
Not yet.
So they came, and then of course our dear friend the wren.
I hate that wren. It's cute. Don't get me wrong. It's cute. But
and
that
you
wren,
feed it happily.
Yes, I do feed it as much as I can. That wren will build nests in my garage. Every time I open the door, it's trying to build a nest.
And you'd have to make sure he's out before you close it.
Because otherwise we're gonna have baby wrens in,
or he'll be stuck and not be able to get out and then die. And I don't want that to happen.
So a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, the thing that started it all, the wren built a nest in a motorcycle helmet, like my motorcycle helmet. And my goodness, wrens are messy for being such tiny little birds. So anyway, that started our whole rivalry. Now, whenever I open the garage door, this little brown bird comes flying in, and then I got to try to chase him out.
I just love their tail, though. The way that tail just...
Yeah, wrens are cute. They're very cute. Them. They're jerks, but they're cute.
I want to do those Mishima mugs. And then the next thing that I want to do that I've never done before are those tree faces.
Right, like the Green Man tree faces, right?
Yeah, but I just could see them in the yard, and stuff. So I was thinking, oh, that'd be fun to do.
Yep, that would be fun.
And you were talking about doing some more ocarinas.
Right.
Ocarinas.
Yeah, ocarinas. And I do need to make a half a dozen or so more in preparation of doing an ocarina class. There has been some interest in that. And yes, and a wren-shaped ocarina would be cool.
Oh,
it would be cool.
Well, and I still think a little hedgehog too.
Yep, because they almost look like that anyway.
They do. They do. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw one. So I think that would be cute to do. So those are some things that we're contemplating making this week. Right. And in fact, we've got a sign back behind us now.
Right. So we have a list of all the things that are on our back burners. Our back burners are bigger than our front burners by a lot.
And we're always afraid that we'll forget the things that we want to do.
So we've got a little list, and I'll take a picture of that and show you a closer version of it so you can see it. But yeah, that's on the list of things to do.
Yes. Oh, I want to make mini garden stacks.
Oh, right. So instead of just making these, 6 foot tall garden totems, which is kind of where, my balloon clown thing is going to go, maybe some smaller ones with smaller, softball sized items on them. And we can make those out of rebar, it's not expensive and not difficult to work with.
Right. Sounds like a good plan to me. I still need to put out the classes for March, but we're in March. But I don't know. So, but I was trying to get everything going because, with the art classes, it's kind of hard to factor in the clay classes.
If you guys have an idea for a class that you want to take, your best bet is to contact us.
Yes.
And then we'll get a time to make that class.
Yeah.
But we are going to be
and I do know we're going to have a bowl class coming up in April for sure.
We're going to be so busy that we're not going to be scheduling a lot of actual formal classes.
I'm going to try to get one in at least for the month of March. So, and then maybe by the time April rolls around, maybe we could do 2. I'm not sure because it's going to be getting very, very tight schedule wise. But for now,
we are all go, no stop.
Yes. So
getting into the busy part of the season, like we haven't been busy, the busy part of the season.
Yes, and we had so much to talk about this time that we didn't,
we didn't answer any questions. Sorry about that, because we're just
or even share a fact or anything like that, because we had so much, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing that this much has gone on.
This is just our info dump of what's going on at Wocky Pots and what we're going to be working on, and also some things for you to look forward to. We are going to be doing some more glaze loads, and we'll have some kiln unloads when we have decent glaze stuff coming out. We're not going to do unload videos for just our bisqueware because honestly, and you know this too, the bisque is the ugliest stage of pottery. That's when you see every flaw and every mistake.
But sometimes people like to see.
We might do individual pictures.
Right. Or think to themselves, well, oh, what color they might put on that, So, but you never know. But it's one of those things. It does take time. So we'll see.
So what else do we have to talk about today?
I don't think we have anything else to talk about today. And I would like to have just a couple of hours of downtime before I go to my Fiber Friends group tonight.
That means I get to play my video game for a little while.
And I guess I'm going to go knit, even though I'm knitting tonight.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Anyway.
Who knows? But anyway, it's a good day because we had a good report at the vet.
Yep.
She's going to be better.
And we're gonna take it slightly easy today, but we also have to prepare for tomorrow's class.
Yes.
So. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else to talk about, let's go ahead and sign off.
Yeah.
Should we?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, you guys. Thank you very much for watching us. Please do hit like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified of new content so that you know when we do get our videos up. And again, thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with us. For now, toodaloo, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Take care. See you later. Have a fabulous day no matter where you're at. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.